How to build the Medallion Gauntlet by davidjguyton at armortemplates.com. This is made of 20 gauge steel, but you can use any thickness you want or any material you want that isn't steel, foam or plastic, whatever you guys are into. This template actually includes two different versions of this gauntlet. You've got a 5-fingered design like you see here, a little bit more traditional, and a 3-fingered design which you see here. So grab your hammers and let's get started. Get your template by clicking under the video or in the video, or going directly to armortemplates.com where all of my templates are available. Here's all the pieces cut out. Some of these pieces look a little bit different than what they actually look like in the end, so don't freak out. The template pieces are correct. This is the knuckle rider plate. I'll go over that a little bit later on. This here, it's hard to see on camera, but this is my dishing stump. I had to use some black paint to paint the top of it because I was having a problem with mold. This is not a necessary step, but I wanted to get the shaping started the way I wanted. So here I am curving it on the dishing stump. As you can see, we got a curve in both directions. And we're going to leave the thumb part uncurved for now. Here I am fitting it against the back of the hand, make sure it fits okay, and curving it as needed. There it is, shaped pretty well. As you can see, I've got some lines marked off here on the back, and we're going to use this axe. It's been blunted, it's not sharp anymore, and I also curved the front of it off a little bit too. There's other ways to do this, but I thought this would work pretty well, and a friend gave me this axe, so I thought I'd use it. Now I'm just lightly tapping it on top, and a couple of passes, and you'll see that this thing will make us a nice straight crease here, a nice line. And a file will make that line perfectly straight. Just work both sides of it. Okay, now the other ones on the sides of that line are curved in the other direction, so I am flipping it over on an anvil and just lightly tapping it to get this little line started, and then using my hands I just put a little force there and it ends up creasing it in the other direction. This gives you like an old 1960s hot rod kind of look on the knuckle plate, which I think is really cool. Alright, now we're looking pretty good, and I've kind of marked the glove where this goes to keep track of you know, where everything's going to end up. This is the knuckle rider plate I was telling you about. This will slip outside of the knuckle plate when you make a fist. As you can see it here, it's basically just shaped exactly the same way as the knuckle plate, and then bent a little bit at the bottom here to allow it to articulate and move. And then it will be trimmed to fit exactly against the knuckle plate. And here it is finished. And now we can curve the rest of the knuckle plate around the thumb. This was originally going to stay that way, but it turns out you couldn't move your thumb very well, so what I did is I shaped a piece and then cut it a little bit later on. I'll show you how I did that. Here's some of the finger plates butted up against it. I will show you how to make those, don't worry. This is the vambrace part, and as you can see, I've got a little line scored here, and I'm using a seamer tool to start curving that piece up, or bending it up, I guess. And it's not that much, not too hard to do, but this gives you a very straight and very rigid line at the end. Gives you a lot more strength and a lot more of a just a precise look, which looks really nice. So you can see this looks much better than just flat steel. I haven't flattened it all the way though, as you can see there. Now I'm using a piece of exhaust pipe, and I am curving it. Just going slow, so don't make any creases in it. Just back and forth a few times. But as you can see, the edges will need to be hammered down just a little bit because they're going to be a little harder to bend. So just tap that with a rawhide mallet and get these parts to line up, and it'll be perfect. Got a little trimming to do. Don't worry, we'll do that later on. The accent pieces, basically the same thing. You just curve them to sort of match the vambrace parts and then rivet them on. As you can see, these parts don't line up perfectly either. Don't worry, once they're riveted together, we will file those or grind them away and it'll be perfect. This is a piece of 1/4 inch copper rod, and I'm just putting it in a vise and sort of mushrooming the top out to make my own copper rivets. Cut that off. This is a rivet block. Oh, I call it a rivet block. It's actually called a dapping block. This is not necessary either, but I like to do this for a nice finished look. You can leave it like that, or you can hammer against it and it gives it a perfect surface. These are just regular hinges you buy from the store, and I'm fitting them against the van brace, and using roofing nails I'm riveting it all together. There we go. And now at this point we can, well, actually here, you see this little ledge here, I've put that in there as well, riveted it on, so it's got something to close against. And at this point we can use the grinder to make that edge perfect. This is actually, I got this from Greenleaf Workshop. You've seen me do spring latches before, but this is a little different. I'm using a hacksaw blade, which has got the right amount of springiness to it. You see I've got it temporarily riveted into the one side, and then marked the hole, popped the hole here, 1/4 inch hole, and then I am taking a Dremel tool and I am taking this 1/4 inch piece of steel rod and sort of making a little peg on the back of it. Now the peg we can rivet down just like a rivet and fit it against there. Of course it's got to be cut off, but now it's precisely in position, which is perfect, exactly what we wanted. Now we've got it all cut and sanded down, and it's perfect. I love perfection. Yes. This is a gigantic washer I have. It wasn't quite big enough, but this would work just fine for the medallion part. I made my own sort of jig here to make this work. Just a piece of 1/8 inch steel, and you can see it's a little bit bigger than this socket that I've got here. And I've got a piece of copper in there, and I'm just lightly tapping it with the hammer. And as you can see, it makes a little 3-dimensional medallion. This is a piece of stiff rubber that I've got cut out the same size, and I am using my cheap man's repoussé method to make my initials in this medallion. So just lightly tapping it with the hammer and then working it from the back side as well, and a couple of passes and we've got our initials done. You of course want to use your initials or something else. Unless your initials are DG, I wouldn't suggest putting those on there. And I'm just cutting out the wrist plate for the medallion to go into. Of course it's got a curve a little bit, so take that into consideration. And I just have it epoxied in with 5-minute epoxy. When fitting these pieces together, make sure you use washers or something to space the pieces apart before you mark your holes. For the fingers, this is for the 3-finger version. Actually, it works for both. This is contact cement, and this is like engine dress-up stuff for cars. You can find this online pretty cheap, or at any auto parts store or Walmart, places like that. And it's just a stainless steel mesh, and I'm gluing it onto the leather and giving it some pressure. Now I'm shaping the finger plates. These are the larger finger plates for the 3-finger design. Using my rawhide mallet again, I'm curving the pieces over and just sort of doing it by hand as well. Checking the fitment, make sure that hinge fits right up against your knuckle. And you can see these parts are going to interfere here, so we're going to have to bend these in or cut them a little bit to make sure that they allow for the finger to bend. Pop your holes and then mark your holes in the bottom piece for precise alignment. and then cut off as much as you can here. This part isn't seen anyway, so it doesn't matter. And we're using roofing nails again to rivet it together. You can see these are left a little bit long though. If you don't leave them long, you won't be able to bend your fingers. So leave them a little longer than you normally would. And here I'm starting to assemble the fingers. We've got the end riveted here to the piece of leather. The piece of leather will get riveted here to the knuckle rider plate, right in this spot. And that will force it to kind of jut out when you make a fist. That knuckle rider plate will pull forward. Now I'm gluing the ends of the fingers, not the entire finger, or else you can't move your hand. And I'm putting straps in. This goes for the 3-finger design and also for the 5-finger design. So these rivets here, this one is where the knuckle rider plate rides. This one at the bottom, right there, and that one and this one. These all get riveted into the glove as well. Those two on the thumb also. Now for the 5-finger design, a little bit more traditional and better looking in my opinion. You've seen this finger jig I've used before. This is basically just a piece of gas pipe. It's 1 1/4 inch outside diameter, embedded in a piece of wood. And I've got another piece of gas pipe. I believe these are 3/4 inch. And I'm just tapping them with the hammer and moving them a little bit so I can get all the areas rounded. And that's pretty much it. You have to pull them apart a little bit to shape them, but this is how you curve these pieces. These pieces fit together like this, so you want to pop your holes on this side and then fit them together, and then pop your holes on the underside, the other piece, as you see me doing here. Pop the hole and then trim off everything you can. Just got it temporarily stuck together. Need a little bit more work in this spot, but it's looking pretty good. Now I'm making marks for trimming these pieces so they all look nice and perfect. Now this goes for the 3-finger and 5-finger design. I've got a very flat hammer and a piece from the dapping set, and I am just basically tapping it very lightly with the hammer at the end of the fingertips, and it gives you a much more professional appearance, and it's very easy to do this, so I highly suggest doing that. So basically hammer it down, and then with a file just lightly get rid of that, and then once you've polished it with a piece of Scotch-Brite pad, it looks like this. Rivet it together like everything else. And I had to trim the tops of these pieces to match this a little bit better, so you may have to do that as well. And then once you've done that, you can rivet them down to the piece of leather. They are not riveted to the top of the glove here, as you can see. And these rivets on top rivet to the knuckle rider plate. And then you can basically just assemble everything and you're done. This is my favorite gauntlet that I've built. Hopefully you guys like this thing too. Didn't know what to call it, so I just called it Medallion because it's got a little medallion in the gauntlet. So anyway, I hope you guys liked it. The template is available. It's got all of the 5-finger design and also the 3-finger design all included in the template. And if you like watching people make stuff, I make all kinds of cool stuff on this channel. Most of it is armor, some of it is other metal related stuff, some of it is hot rod related. So make sure to check out all of my other videos to check all that stuff out. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe as well. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/armortemplates. Give the page a like and communicate with other armorers on that page. And make sure to check out my website, armortemplates.com. See you next time, guys. Next time, guys.